Don't look at the beings. Use the conclusion. Don't use too much of knowing. Use my for my itself, uninvolved within the involvement itself. Use this conclusion. The reminders that purify themselves only. The knower already exists, but don't use it too much, because it's gonna be the wall that is obstructing oneself. It cannot be penetrating through. It will block oneself only. Any perception through knowing, it will block only. Therefore, just go further than knowing. Use the reminders to purify. Discard the discarding itself. With everything, my for my itself, it will have nothing to do with knowing or not knowing. This will purify without traces for all beings. There are already the projection that coming anyway. But the knower that is there is going to be just receiving. Use the reminders that has nothing to do with knowing or not knowing. No grasping for the non-grasping with everything. Continue to use the reminders that purify themselves. Then there will be the purification without traces. The automatic purification will be there. Just use the reminders. Whenever they think of you, they will be purified automatically. This is how we solve everything. Use the reminders that purify themselves only. It will go beyond knowing. There will be the purification without traces for the knower. To emphasize on knowing is not okay. It's just blocking oneself. The knower is blocking itself. Uninvolved within the involvement itself. Use this reminder. Then naturally it will have nothing to do with knowing or not knowing. Without thinking of any groups of beings, whether they are interest to you or not. Use the reminders. They will not thinking of you automatically. Don't check through knowing. Don't be preoccupied with knowing. Let's purify without traces. If they think of you is already good, if you have nothing in mind, then they will be purified. If you project through your knowing, it will blocking the blessing. Knowing is the one that receiving the karmic difficulties. Don't pay attention to the existing knowing. Use the reminders that purify themselves. My for my itself constantly. No grasping for the non-grasping itself constantly. With everything, with everything. No grasping for the non-grasping itself, with everything. It will soften down from knowing automatically. It will be lighting up. It will turn into helping through unwinding and releasing instead. This is helping through ending, therefore there is no need to pay attention for the knowing that is coming in to your perception. There is no need to emphasize on using knowing or not knowing. Let's use the conclusion to purify right away through the reminders that purify themselves. Use it with everything. Uninvolved within the involvement itself is to be used with everything. Give up the giving up itself with everything. This is the conclusion to purify, to bless. To purify, to bless. This will decrease the karmic difficulties and the clashes. Help through unwinding and releasing will happen automatically. Use the reminders to purify only. and open up widely as well, and with everything simultaneously, and involved within the involvement itself is with everything. This will help through unwinding constantly. The mighty force will be like that. No grasping for the non-grasping itself constantly. Use this reminder constantly. This is the purification of the extinction, the emptiness without traces. There is no need to use any other power. Otherwise, it's the karmic difficulties within the usage. This essence, it purifies itself, purify the purification itself, dissolve the dissolvement itself. There is no remaining of karmic difficulties there. To use power in this way and that way, it will bounce back to oneself. It's a kind of mental karma. It's a kind of karma. It will bounce back to oneself. And it will accumulate Vedana and hindrances more and more. It cannot use the knower much, bypass it right away, mind from mind itself right away altogether. It will purify the knowing. It will purify seeing and knowing. No grasping for the non-grasping itself altogether. Reminders that purify themselves constantly. Use the reminders with everything. They purify themselves. Use with everything. Whatever obstacles that is coming, don't pay attention to it. If you are already unwound, they will also unwound accordingly. It has nothing to do with faith or disfaith at all. Whoever that is useful or not, there will be purification for it automatically. And involved in the involvement itself thoroughly, there will be the purification, helping through unwinding and releasing automatically. This blessing will cover all without being specific to choose humans or non-humans specifically. If using the knowing, it will be specific constantly. That is disturbing. Use that which is not the mind. Listen to the code. That which has nothing to do with the mind. And involved within the involvement itself automatically. It will have nothing to do with knowing or not knowing. It will have nothing to do with the mind. This is the purification of the extinction and the emptiness. And it will cover all more and more. Using knowing cannot be used too much because it's being specific. Then it will not cover everyone. Instead, it will receive the karmic difficulties, receiving only karmic difficulties because knowing is clashing, is the perception that is clashing, is not useful. Knowing is there, but it doesn't use to purify. Just mind instead. Mind from mind itself purify through the extinction, through the emptiness. And involved within the involvement itself is called the purification of the emptiness. Not attached to the non-attachment itself is also the purification of the extinction and the emptiness. When there is the purification of the emptiness, the mind is not used. Listen to the code that has nothing to do with the mind. It will continue to purify onward through the emptiness. No grasping for the non-grasping itself is not the mind. No, that is not know itself is not the mind either. This is the conclusion of Nibbana for samsara. Nirodha for samsara. No is not know itself. It cannot be anything else. It cannot be the mind in whatever ways already. This is called the purification of the extinction and the emptiness for samsara. Use that which is not the mind to help through ending for samsara. The mind creates karma and receiving karma. It's impossible to help end for samsara through the mind. It is a medium to link with samsara, but it cannot be used to end for samsara. One must use that which is not the mind instead. Know that is not know itself. That's it. Mind from mind itself altogether. This is called purification of the extinction. It will be releasing from the using of the mind, the releasing from the usage of the consciousness, and Vedana will be less. Receiving of the Vedana is a lot when there is a lot of clarity within knowing. Therefore, receiving the Vedana will be fully. Therefore, bypassing clarity right away, no grasping for the non-grasping itself will discard clarity or disclarity immediately. This is purified to the emptiness instantly. When there is disengagement itself altogether, there will be no conflict. There is no differentiations already. The purification through the extinction and emptiness will be even for everything. No conflict, no differentiations with anything whatsoever. No grasping for the non-grasping itself constantly. There is no conflict with anything already, no differentiations already. It will be balanced for everything automatically. Proceed simultaneously with everything through the reminders. This will simultaneously purify for everything. No grasping for the non-grasping itself is the purification without traces, altogether with everything. Use the reminders only. It's impossible to do anything. To practice any type of thing, it will be karma in the practice. Use the reminders that purify themselves constantly and only. They are the reminders that purify themselves. Use it often. It affects samsara at large. It's impossible to use the mind in whatever ways. It's the karma in itself. It will create trouble.